Hello there and welcome back to the June May channel. My name is Paula Jean and a special shout out to all of the new viewers and subscribers here. I had heard that YouTube was making an effort to push smaller channels out into the algorithm, YouTube world, whatever. But mostly I was like, but then my last video, I got a lot of really positive feedback. So thank you so much. I am so glad that you're here and I appreciate you. And I hope you like this one as much as the last one. So this is part two of my spring to fall sewing roundup, the lingerie edition. Let me just start by saying that I know not everybody is into lingerie. I myself was not into lingerie until I started making my own. I was the person who was like, okay, let me go into a dressing room with 75 bras, find one that fits, and that's the one I'm gonna buy, and I'm gonna wear it until it's falling off my body. And then I would go back to buy another one to replace it, and it was either discontinued, or they added padding, or they changed the wire, or something, and then start the whole process over again. So I only started making bras when I hit my 50s, wearable bras that is, and I haven't turned back. And now I really, really enjoy it. It has helped so much with my body confidence. I work in an industry that is really big into the body shaming. So it has really helped to heal some of those wounds and the lifetime of negative self-talk that I, as a woman in this society, has put herself through. So it's really been a confidence boost, and now I love making it and wearing it. Another note about these projects, a number of them were made in collaboration with Ruhi of Rubies Bras. So I've talked about her Sahaara bra pattern a lot on this channel. I love the pattern, I've made it several times, but actually bra pattern making or developing isn't Ruhi's main business. Rubies Bras is actually a bespoke bra making company. So they make individual bras for individual people. There was actually a story recently on Global News in Canada that the reason she started Rubies Bras was because she and her mother and other women in their family had dealt with breast health issues, and in dealing with the aftermath of that, realized that there was such a lack of variety and style in any of the bras and intimate apparel that was offered to people with various diversities, whether that's after surgeries or just different sizes, different asymmetry and sensitivities and things like that. And so that's why she decided to start this company. So Ruhi is always brainstorming new styles that she wants to offer her clients. And what she does is sometimes she works with bra makers in the sewing community, sends them materials to make a bespoke bra for themselves in their own size. And then we take nice photos that she can use for marketing purposes. And that's how that exchange works. I have been doing this with her since she reached out to me at the end of last year. She had seen some Odessa corsets that I had made, which was a Madeline pattern, and reached out to me and said, hey, I would maybe like to add this style to my holiday collection. Would you like to make one? And let's see how this goes. So that's how this started. Just to be clear, I make samples of bras that I then take pictures of on my body and send them to her. I do not make bras for other people, so I just want to make that really clear. She works with other way more professional sewists, and that is taken care of where she is in Canada. So yeah, so I just wanted to make that crystal clear. So with that stage set, let me show you some pretty things. First up is the Sahaara Bodysuit. Both myself and Liz of Liz Sews made up this bodysuit, and Liz actually has a tutorial on her YouTube channel, which I will leave linked down below. I actually followed that tutorial to make mine with a few little changes. So we both used this beautiful flocked stretch mesh that Ruhi sent to us, and Liz did hers with a black lining. So the lining in the body, it was a black stretch mesh, and then it was black sheer cup lining on the cups. I did a color of stretch mesh and sheer cup lining that is closer to my skin tone, so that it really kind of highlights the flowers on the stretch mesh. And For her bodysuit bottom half, she used a pattern that she self-drafted for herself. I did a mashup of the Sahaara Bra pattern with the Merlin bodysuit, which is by Hari Ito. It's meant to be a kind of basic bodysuit block. So it's got darted cups, it's got sleeves, and it's meant to be something that you can kind of let your imagination run wild with. And it comes in a really great size range, and really enjoyed working with that pattern. So I just used the bottom half for my bodysuit. The other thing about the Merlin is that it is a Y back or thong back, but it has a snap closure at the back, which is really ingenious. And it only calls for one snap, but I put two. Just for extra insurance, but neither of them has ever come undone on me when I have worn this. The other change that I made was that I made mine convertible to a halter. Took me a minute to kind of figure out the strap configuration, but I'm pretty proud of what I did come up with. So I'm actually going to show you, because it's very hard to explain without also showing you. So I'm going to show you right now how my strap system works. So from the cup, at the top of the cup, I've got a slider, a short strap, and another slider, and I have that on both sides. For the halter, I've got this short strap that has a G-hook on one end and a loop on the other. So to make this a halter, I take the two straps, I feed the looped end through the slider, kind of down through the slider, and then I come up through the other slider, hook the G-hook into the end of the loop, and that is how I have a halter neck. For the regular straight straps, I have a longer length of bra strap elastic, also with a fixed G-hook on one end and a loop sewn into the other end. But on this one, I've got another floating G-hook. So how this attaches is, you may have noticed that this has a piece of strap elastic here with another loop. So to make the regular strap, I'm going to make sure that the G-hook is on, the fixed G-hook is in my left hand and the loop is in my right hand. So I'm going to feed this up through the slider. Takes a little bit because this is a bit of a tight fit. And then I'm going to take that floating G-hook and insert it into the loop here. And then this fixed G-hook loops into the strap there, and I can kind of slide that along there. And then I have my fixed strap. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. I had to take off my earrings because they were jingling and I don't want it to affect the sound. Anyway, next up is the Bette Bra. This is maybe one of my proudest makes to date, and also the most nerve-wracking, not because of the pattern or anything, just because of the materials I was working with. But it's the Bette Bra pattern by Annie and Myra's. Jenny, the designer, gets a lot of her inspiration from old Hollywood, and her styles are really, really good for women who have a larger cup size but a smaller rib cage. She kind of caters to that market. And so the Bette Bra is named after Bette Davis, and it's a really great pattern to work with. You can also use this pattern. She developed it in a way that she says you can also use other fabrics other than bra materials. So if you have like a cotton lawn dress or an old like wedding dress or special occasion dress that has, you know, gotten partially destroyed or worn out or whatever, and you want to upcycle it and use it to make a bra, you can use that as well. And there are all kinds of embellishment options that she offers within the pattern, and the fit I found was fantastic. I had to make only very slight adjustments to the cup. The band fit great. It's a little bit of a longer line bra, and this is made out of cinnamon colored duoplex and sheer cup lining, and this absolutely gorgeous lace that Ruhi picked up on her travels at either last year or the beginning of this year. She only had a yard of this lace, and so she just sent me the whole yard and said, oh, just try to be as creative as you can and send me back the rest so I can use it if somebody wants it. So I really tried to be as judicious as possible. It's a fashion lace, and so it had two different edges on it. And so I really tried to do the best I could to send her back as much as possible. And the only change that I made to the pattern, other than little fit adjustments, was for the strap. I borrowed one of the non-stretch strap pattern pieces from the Sahaara Bra, and so it's the curved one that kind of bows out a little bit just over the shoulder, and I put padding in it, and it is super comfortable. So very happy with how that turned out. And honestly, this is so pretty. Like, I would probably feel comfortable just wearing this under a jacket and going out for like a date night or a party or something. So yeah, really just absolutely adore it. I also made some matching bottoms months later, actually. I only just finished them. So I used two of my go-to patterns of late, which are the Thursday thong and the Friday French cuts. Both patterns are by Emerald Erin, and the Friday French cuts have a non-stretch front, so you can use sheer cup lining, you can use duoplex or tulle, any kind of non-stretch fabrics for the front. And I only had a tiny sliver left over from the lace, so I had to piece together the front with the leftovers of the duoplex as well, but I think they turned out really nice. And then for the Thursday thong, I didn't have any matching or coordinating lace, but I had this camisole that was too long and had a stretch lace bottom edge on it. And I realized that it actually matched the kind of unique kind of light blue turquoisey color in the lace. So I took that lace off the bottom of that camisole and put it on the bottoms. And now I have two bottoms that go with this bra. Ruhi also wanted to experiment with having swimwear options in her collection. So I did the Cygne Swimsuit from Harry Ito, another one from Harry Ito. Cygne means swan in French. This is a one-piece swimsuit with a great size range and cup options. It has 5 different bodice front options to choose from. And then in the back, you have a choice of just a plain low scoop back or a little lace-up detailing at the lower back. I opted to do the lace-up front and the lace-up back, so all the bells and whistles. This actually fit pretty well right off the page. I think the only adjustments I made were to shorten the torso a little bit, which is normal for me, and I took a bit off the straps, and I think I added a little bit to the back to have a little bit fuller coverage on the bottom in the back. But other than that, fit really great, and I think I made the F cup size. The instructions are really great. You end up with very clean finishes on the inside. And I opted to add some foam to the cups for support. And I'm always very disappointed in the pre-molded foam cups. I just don't like them. And I knew that I was not going to be removing these. So I just used the pattern pieces to create my pattern cups. And then I secured them by stitching them to the lining of the interior of the cup along that princess seam. They're also secured in the underbust seam and also where the grommets are in the front. Now, if you're looking at these grommet holes and thinking like, wow, that must be terrifying to put holes in a garment that you've worked so hard to put together. And really, yes, it was terrifying. Every single time I made a hole, I was like, okay, here's where everything gets ruined. But the goddesses were shining on me and ended up being all right. The biggest thing that I was worried about is that when I put it on, because this is stretchy fabric, I was worried about the fabric pulling away from those grommets and I would end up with a big hole and end up having to put like bigger and bigger grommets in. But in the instructions, it does tell you to use knit interfacing along where you're going to put the grommets. And I think you only have to put it on one side, but I was totally nervous. So I actually put it on both the outer fabric and the inner fabric just to make sure that that's gonna stay put. And I wore this a lot this summer. It was kind of my go-to suit and they are doing just fine. And I don't know where Ruhi sources all of her fabrics, but I do know that this gorgeous plum color swim fabric came from Emerald Erin, if you want to check that out. So that is the Hari Ito Cygne Swimsuit. My search for a supportive, comfortable, not overly padded, strapless bra that stays in place has been like looking for Sasquatch. It has been the bane of my lingerie existence, and I've always wanted to try to make myself one, but I don't know, fear always sets in and I scrap it for some other project. But I was very inspired when I saw Holly from The Twisted Poppy on Instagram. She had done kind of a long line strapless hack of the Freedom corset by Pinup Girls. And I thought, oh, that looks interesting. So when Ruhi and I were having our kind of style discussions, I told her about it. She had seen it as well, and she gave me the green light to try it for myself. And I ended up with this pink lovely. So I used actually the overbust corset pattern from New Zealand Corsetry. It has very similar style lines to the Freedom corset, but they do have an option to purchase a PDF version of it on their Etsy shop. So Pinup Girls, they make great patterns, but none of them is a PDF. So I didn't want to wait for all the shipping and all of that. So I went with the New Zealand Corsetry one, and I really liked the pattern. If you haven't ever worked with a corset pattern, most of them do not come with really great instructions, and that's because there are so many different ways of approaching making a corset. So don't get discouraged if you go buy a pattern that you like and it doesn't come with a whole lot of instruction. I ended up making, I think, 4 muslins of this pattern, which is not abnormal because I was not only fitting a corset pattern, I was also trying to figure out how to change the back and some elements of it to make it into a front close bra. So I was totally expecting to have to do that many mock-ups. In order to make it a bra with just one closure in the front, I decided to extend the back panel so I don't have any gap in between that you would normally have for lacing up in the back. I extended that, and I actually used 2 layers of power mesh on that panel only. The rest of the bra is made up of sheer cup lining, duoplex, and a lace overlay, which are all very stable fabrics. But I wanted just a little tiny bit of give and breathability, but still have that structure available, and the 2 layers of power mesh seem to do really well in that area. And I also used that opportunity to play with a little bit of the lace placement, and I think it turned out really nice. I also altered the neckline just a tiny bit, just for my personal preference, and the top and bottom edge, instead of being bound with bias binding the way that you would on a normal corset, it's just finished with picot elastic on the top and bottom. And then for the front closure, I only had white hook and eye tape, but it looked really contrasty against the kind of darker mauveish pink. And so I just took some of the leftover duoplex and I found a way to attach it to the front, just the part that shows. It was extremely tedious, and I do like the way that it looks, but I probably won't do that again in the future. I'll probably up my dyeing skills a little bit and just dye something to match. And this is actually really comfortable. I am happy with the amount of support that it gives, and it actually gets me excited to make one of my sewing bucket list items, which is an actual proper corset, because I've never really made one of those, but I'm going to now. I also made 2 matching bottoms to coordinate with this strapless bra. Again, it is the Friday French cuts and the Thursday thong, and this time I used a little bit of the lace that was left over on that front panel, and I didn't have enough of the pink duoplex, but I actually liked the look of some sheer tulle that it was the same color as my skin tone, and I thought that looked really pretty. And then on the Thursday thongs, that's just all pink with a couple of little bows, and really love this whole set. Again, I was never really into matching tops and bottoms in my lingerie wardrobe until I started making my own, and then I couldn't stop. So be warned if you start doing that yourself. So those were all of the collaborations that I did with Ruhi from Rubies Bras so far this year. And the last thing that I have to show you is a pattern test that I did for Cassie over at Primrose Dawn, and it is the Jacinta Chemise. This was such a lovely, fun, quick sew, and it was a really nice palette cleanser after working with so many little finicky sewing projects. So this is a pretty little nightie that is made for knit fabrics. You can use stretch mesh, bamboo jersey, any kind of stretch jersey, or stretch lace. It comes with a couple of different cup configuration options. It's all the same styling, but it's just a matter of the combination of fabrics that you use. And Cassie always has a really great size range. For mine, you may recognize this fabric from my last video if you watched it. This is a really soft, lightweight printed stretch mesh from Madeline that she no longer carries. And then the contrast, I also had enough of the modal jersey in Cayenne from Serge Fabrics that I used for the contrast on the cups. The cups are also lined, so I used for my lining this kind of a mystery stretch fabric. It's got a fair amount of body to it, but it's got really good stretch and recovery. And I wanted to make sure that like this has a little bit of support for my size and support needs. Like I wouldn't wear it out. If you have a smaller cup size, you could easily kind of make this up in fabrics that you could wear it outside in. But it does offer me enough support that I feel comfortable kind of doing things around the house in, and I don't feel like I'm gonna fall out of it. So I use that for, like I said, on the lining, and then I actually added a strip of it in the back. This stretch mesh that I used is so soft and lightweight. I was concerned about the fold over elastic, which is what I use to finish the underarm and the back. You can also use pico elastic, but I used coordinating fold over elastic, and I just wanted to make sure that it was gonna support the weight of that and the weight of the straps. I mean, not that the straps are heavy, but just to support that. There are instructions in the pattern to make adjustable straps. I had a couple of small pieces of this wide fold over elastic that matched, and so I just folded them over and stitched them down and used them to make fixed straps, and they're a little bit stretchy, and they have worked out great. And of course, I did have enough left over of my fabrics to make 2 coordinating bottoms with 2 other patterns that Cassie offers as well. One of them is the Reina High Cut. I actually used this last year to make myself a swim bottom in the full coverage version of the pattern. So I really like this one. And the Paula Cheeky Panty, which is kind of a full front and comfy cheeky back, and that is kind of what I wear mostly with this. Guess what, everybody? We have made it to the end of my sewing roundup. Thank you so much to all of the new and returning people here. I appreciate you so much. And if you like this and know somebody who you think might like it too, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. Let me know in the comments. Have yourself a beautiful week. I know the tensions are high here in the States. We've got a very big, very important election coming up. So please take great care of your physical and mental health. Stay sane. We can do this. And I will see you in the next video.